Welcome back to the Bash Mania podcast. I am your host, as always, Justin Bash. Welcome back to the show. Unfortunately, no Chenzo today. He was set to be on. He had to leave and go to Gilroy, I believe, for a practice. And he's got a lot on his plate right now with recruits. And part of the difficult part right now with him taking on the Stanford job is that school is about to be cut. So a lot of where a program normally is when a coach comes in, they're so far behind. So he's had a lot going on that he's had to deal with, which is why he hasn't been on the last couple episodes. So unfortunately, no Chenzo today, but the show goes on. Thomas Gilman delivers. We actually just got done recording, so I'm recording this after he delivered. I always enjoy talking to Thomas Gilman. Before we dive into that conversation, guys, I do want to let you know the show is brought to you by our friends at Attack. If you listen to this podcast, you should know about them, and you should have downloaded the app already. So Attack is an app in the sports and fitness arena. It's called Attack because it's an advanced training athletic club. And this app is basically a personal guide that gives you fitness, nutrition, strength training, recovery aspects, mental aspects. There's so much to this app. It's like having a coach in your pocket. Amazing app. If you haven't downloaded it yet, go download it. It's Attack, ATAC. They're also on Twitter. They're on Instagram. They're on Facebook. On Instagram, they're Attack, ATAC.app, APP. And they give out recipes, fitness tips. So go give Attack a follow. They're doing a lot of cool stuff within the space. And obviously they're rolling this out with wrestling because there's wrestlers behind it. So go follow Attack, download the Attack app today. And for now, let's get into today's show. Mr. Thomas Gilman, Olympic bronze medalist, back on the show. How are you, man?
I'm doing well. Thank you. How are you?
I'm good. I guess before we talk wrestling, congratulations again. You're having a baby girl. I'm having a baby boy. So the whole, when you guys announced that you were having a girl, I think was the day before we found out.
That's awesome.
So I started going back and forth with my wife. Now, I'm assuming you didn't care one way or another.
No. I just got a feeling it's going to be a baby girl just because, it's kind of like I say the wrestler's curse. But it's not really a curse. It's a blessing, right?
Yeah.
So maybe I got to rephrase that. But no, I just want healthy. That's all that matters to me in my life.
That's exactly. So. We did not care at all. That's why we didn't even want to do a gender reveal party. Nothing. It was just the doctor was like, I can tell you tomorrow. So calls first things, left a voicemail. So that was cool. We found out and went right over to Boston for a couple of days and just kind of started buying a couple of babies' first things. It's fun. Do you guys have a name picked out?
Yeah, Jade.
Jade? Okay.
Yeah.
I like that.
So we're excited about that.
What's the reason behind it? Just like it?
I just like it. Yeah, that's really the only reason.
Jade Gilman.
Yeah.
I love it. So before we talk Olympics, I want to talk about, you posted an amazing blog on Memorial Day. I've been trying to get you to blog all week this week, which I finally said, all right, he's just coming on the show because he's not going to blog yet. We're going to tell the story on the podcast.
Yeah.
But I was thinking about asking you what your perspective was going to Tokyo. And that blog, I don't know how many people listening to this read it, but it was a great blog. And I know some people caught on quick to it because you had mentioned your foot being hurt in that blog, and people were repeating that. So I know they heard it, but talk to me a little bit about that blog and what you talked about in there.
Yeah. So I was essentially just sitting in a plane on the tarmac in California, getting ready to come back to Pennsylvania. I just had this all these thoughts just rushing my head and kind of had this revelation, epiphany of why I was in California. It initially was to be healed or help heal my foot, but it was bigger than that. It was kind of an emotional and spiritual kind of experience. And the metaphor I used was Alcoholics Anonymous, because essentially alcoholism gets you into a meeting, right? Like that's the problem that gets you to a meeting. But that's a lot of times how people find God too. They get there, and then the steps of the program, and it's kind of faith-based, a lot of it. So you have an issue, and that issue takes you to, in this case, meet California, and for an alcoholic, a meeting. And then in turn, that's kind of where you find God. And not that I already knew God and found God before this, but this was just like another revelation, like God kind of speaking to me through my injuries in a way. So I just kind of used the metaphor, I talked about it with other people, but this body that we have, it's on loan to us. It's a rented thing. It's just a physical thing, and we don't take it with us. So we got to treat it well. We got to treat it with respect. And that's something that I really haven't done in my life, especially my wrestling career. I treat my body well as far as nutrition and stuff like that. I don't put a lot of bad things in my body, probably too much caffeine sometimes. But other than that, I treat that side of it really well. I don't do any drugs or nothing like that. But the physical aspect of it, like training hard and not listening to my body as far as, needing days off and stuff like that, I would abuse my body. And when you're young, you can get away with that. You can do that. But as you get older, your body needs more time to recover and recoup. And so, essentially it all started back in 2018. I tore my hamstring in 2018, and that was maybe the first time God was kind of striking me down, and I didn't listen at all.
That's how it happens usually.
But this time, he struck me down again with my foot, and he's like, "Hey, son, listen to me. You're not taking care of this body I've given you. It's not yours, it's mine. So take care of it." And so I started really listening to God that way, and kind of found the right people, and those right people found other right people, and it led me to California and healed my foot in kind of a roundabout way. If you think about it, it was kind of more of an emotional experience and spiritual than it was physical, but sometimes the healing process starts first in the spiritual and emotional, and then you can open up those pathways to start healing physically.
Yeah. And for me, like knowing you and knowing athletes in general, I tend to get the most confidence in you and others when you guys are happy and when you're trusting God. And it looked like those both were elements of you going into Tokyo. You seemed happy, and you also seemed focused on your faith, focused on what you had. I'm curious from your side, what was your perspective heading into Tokyo?
Yeah, definitely. I was definitely focused. I was definitely happy, just enjoying every part of the experience, everything from, just enjoying the sights and sounds of Nakatsugawa when we're at training camp and in Tokyo, to enjoying the weight cut, to enjoying the little smoothie that I get after weigh-ins, and the smells of the mat and the feel, and of course the competition, and just kind of, I give kudos to Kyle Snyder, because this is something that he told David, and David ended up telling me too. I think Kyle told me as well, because we were roommates in Nakatsugawa, but he just kind of told us like not to wish the days away. Right. So what he meant by that is we kind of get caught up in the day-to-day of the training, competition's 2 weeks away, 1 week away, 3 days away. We want those days to kind of go by super fast, because we're competitive. We just want to get out there and compete and do our job and do the funnest part of what we do. But he said, just kind of keep things in perspective and find a little bit of stillness. And I'm putting words in his mouth now, but find a little bit of stillness and find the enjoyment in the days leading up to competition. So I really focused on just this whole process, since being at Penn State, but really this last training cycle, from when I was able to start training again, when my foot was better, to the end of the games, was just focusing on the present and just being completely present and just being completely thankful and grateful for every opportunity and every bump in the road as well, because every bump in the road presents another different opportunity for me to be more creative, for me to grow stronger, for me to become more humble, so just enjoying every step of the way and enjoying the process. And to do that, you have to have gratitude and humility and just trusting in God. Sometimes, some days you wake up and you're just like, man, I just don't know. There's no question, there's no answer. It's just like, man, I just don't feel it, whatever it is. And you just gotta have faith to get your foot out the door and know that God will take care of you.
It's funny you mentioned Snyder and DT, because when I was writing some things down for this beforehand, I vividly just thought about it like it was clear as day when you were on the podcast last year, the day after you announced you were going to NLWC. And one of the things that you were most excited about was becoming a part of a team where you really felt like guys were in the trenches with you.
Yeah.
And it seems like in Tokyo, that played out exactly as you were envisioning what you wanted. You literally had guys in the trenches, not just in State College, not just in the Penn State room, but literally over in Tokyo giving you advice. They're also wrestling for medals. Like, did that play out exactly as you had hoped back when you joined the NLWC?
I mean, yeah. I mean, that's why I came here, right? It's like we're all on the same page. We're doing the same thing. Our aspirations are the same. And when you have high level competitors with the same aspirations and the same great coaches, it's just inevitable that we're going to end up, at the Olympic Games or World Championships, whatever it might be, together. And I don't know if I ever really thought about it in that sense of like being at the Olympic Games with my teammates like that. I always thought about it more so in the training, but now that I think about it, it's pretty amazing, to have that continuity, from State College and everyday training to Nakatagawa, and same guys training with the same coaches, and then you get to Tokyo and same guys, same coaches, and especially having DT and I wrestle on the same day and being pretty much on the same schedule.
Yeah.
Leading up to competition day, it was very unique, and it's something that I definitely do not take for granted. It's a very unique situation, and just it's just what I needed. It's what I envisioned, and that's why I left. It's why we came here to kind of start over in a way.
Yeah. So. Yeah, and that's why as soon as you said, I had written that down, but as soon as you said Snyder and DT and mentioning, don't wish the days away, and I've heard from so many wrestlers how from this point on, when you get to Japan, how much of it is mental, right? When you get to the point of competition, so much of it is mental. Did you feel like that? Like once you got to Japan, so much of your training was done, and now it becomes a part of, okay, it's time to focus in on the mental aspect of it because the work is done. Like from here on out, it's a lot of mental being in the right headspace.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, there's a certain threshold there where, you can do too much work physically. I've been there, I've done that, in the past, more so than I like to admit. But like you mentioned on the mental, the work is done physically at a certain point, but the work mentally and emotionally and spiritually, that doesn't ever stop, until you get done with your final match of the game. So like even, when you're in the tunnel there, you got the nervous jitters, you got to do a lot of mental and spiritual work. There's a lot of praying to God right at that moment. You don't want to be too excited. I'm the kind of guy that I don't need anybody to pump me up. Right. I got enough energy as it is. So I'm just praying to God that, he gives me a little bit of stillness, a little bit of calm so I can collect my thoughts a little bit and see things a little bit more clear. So when the physical work's done, that's kind of when the mental work starts to pick up. So
yeah,
I like that you mentioned that.
When you get a draw, I know the fans go nuts. Nuts is like in, start commentating this thought, bad draw, good draw. As fans, you can't help but do it. When you were in Japan, you got your draw. Did you care? Did it matter to you at all?
It didn't matter. I knew there was only 16 guys in the bracket, and then, the way the bracket separated, you're gonna have you have Uguev on the bottom side, Michich on the top, and India on the top, and then can't remember, Turkey on the bottom with the 4 seed. So I understood I was either gonna be on the same side as Uguev and Turkey, or Michich and India, which they're all tough dudes. It's the Olympic Games, only 16 guys got through. But I kind of, this started way back when I was hurt. We had the first camp in Colorado Springs, and I couldn't do anything physically necessarily because I was in a boot, and it's kind of hard to do much in a boot. It's kind of clunky, and it was a very delicate stage where I needed to really keep that boot on. And so I did a lot of work, as far as my mental game, studying some film of myself and also my opponents. I kind of wrote down all 16 guys, their names on a Word document, and just kind of went through and highlighted the guys I've wrestled before, because I wrestled about half of them, maybe just over, multiple times. And so I kind of wrote down things like where the guy kind of got me, where if he beat me, this is where he was beating me.
Sure.
If I was beating him, that's kind of what I was getting to on him. And then the guys that I didn't wrestle before, I kind of went through and I watched a little bit extra film on those guys to kind of get a little bit more of a feel, not necessarily for them technically, but just where their emotions kind of go throughout the match.
Yep.
You know, Iran, for example, you know, he comes out hard. You know, he's going to wrestle hard through those first couple whistles, but if things don't go his way in a couple scrambles, a couple positions, he'll get overly emotional, get overly involved in the match emotionally, and kind of fall apart and make mistakes. So kind of paying attention to not only the technical aspect, but the emotional aspect of the kind of energies that they kind of bring to the mat. So I had all that written down. So I had a very good idea of where I sat, you know, with which guys and what I needed to do. And when the draw came out, you know, kind of getting back around to the question, it was Uguev, right? And so I was like, all right, let's go. You know, you got to beat the best guy to win the Olympic Games, right? And he was the 2 seed, but he was the 2-time reigning world champion. Yeah. So, and as an American, and the way I do my weight and the discipline that I have, and my recovery rate, I felt pretty good having him right off the bat. You know, I'm a bigger guy for 57, but just the way that I'm so disciplined, and I feel pretty good right off the scale. And so I knew I'd have a little bit more juice than him. So, you know, why not get him right off the scale then in the finals or in the semis when he has a lot of time to recover? But beyond that, I didn't look at the bracket. You know, you obviously you see where you're at, and you kind of see the guys around you, because I was at the very bottom. So I scanned down, there I am. So you see everybody, you know, you realize you're going to have Uzbek or China in the second round. But beyond that, I didn't really know. But you know, that first draw comes out, I go back, I look at my notes. I'm like, okay, you know, just reminders, you know, move your feet off the whistle. He's got that kind of super duck, you know, long shot from the outside. You know, he's going to come. He's got a really good front headlock if you're underneath him. He's just a gamer. He knows how to win. But the most important things for me was moving my feet off the whistle, and whistle starts. And that's where he got me. You know, the last 46 seconds, he got underneath me and we're scrambling. We come back up. And another scramble, he's underneath me. He takes me down with 5 seconds left. So a lot of lessons being learned there. But the biggest thing is just take one match at a time. You know, you wrestle the best guys in the world. And that's no exaggeration. You know, some college guys, you know, they say at the NCAAs, we're wrestling the best guys in the world, but you're not. You know, you're just a boy. You're kidding yourself. These literally are the best guys in the world. So if you try to think about first round, second round, third round, it's too much information. It's information overload. You know, one guy, you got 2-time world champion, first round. So you got to focus, put all your mental energy and focus into that. And, you know, once that job was done, if it did get done, then I would worry about the Uzbek. Then I would worry about the Iranian, you know, but I didn't get that job done in the first round. But luckily, thankfully, he won and brought me back in the tournament. I was able to prove that I'm right there. You know, I'm here to stay. And I was just grateful and thankful for the opportunity to come back and kind of just showcase my skills a little bit more.
Yeah, and everybody had said how good you looked in that first match, and was, I think, both excited and hopeful that if you get pulled back in, there's no doubt you're going to medal. But it's not always easy. We talked when you were on here before about thoughts you had after losing in the NCAA championships. I remember you said you woke up the next day, kind of looked yourself in the mirror, like had a mental talk with yourself. And here, like, you lose, you don't have that much time. It's not like you're done. You're still watching what's happening with him. You still realize that, okay, now if I get pulled back in, I'm still wrestling for bronze. Like, what's going through your head after that match?
I just hope this guy has enough time to recover and we don't have a Metcalf effect on our hands. That's what I was thinking, because he's laying down on the back on the mat, you know, and he's essentially on deck. You know, he's in the hole and then on deck, he's still laying there on the ground and they're shaking out his legs and arms. I'm like, oh, shoot. You know, we might be in trouble here. Because the Uzbek guy, he's a pretty tough kid too. He's a young kid, he's scrappy. So you never know if this guy's completely exhausted. We might be going home here with one match under our belt, and that's it. But luckily, you know, he's a gamer and he's a winner, and he came back and he took that guy down with 16 seconds left. And it was an emotional roller coaster. You know, I was sitting there watching the match, and I saw the Uzbek kind of throw him by and take him down. And I got up and walked away. You know, I was like, that's it. You're done. You know, your chances of coming back are over. But then something, I think it was maybe God, put his hand on my back and turned me around and said, you watch this, like you're gonna take this, and you're gonna take all your medicine, and
Yep.
There's something hard about that, having to watch the guy that just beats you lose and puts you out of the tournament. So I think my ego was like, you know what, if this is going to happen, you're going to watch it happen through to the last second. And I think maybe, I put enough energy into the universe that he was able to pull that one out and beat him. And then I was like, all right, now it's time to cut weight. Because I knew that he was going to have a couple hours, probably 6 hours before he had to wrestle the Iranian. And the Iranian's a tough guy too. But I think Uguev was just, and he proved he was just too technical for him. And he beat the Iranian. But we needed to get at least 2, maybe 3 workouts in to get that weight back down. So we started our workout and, just focus on the task at hand. You don't get ahead of yourself. Don't get the cart in front of the horse. Just take care of what you can take care of and control what you can control, just being stoic about the situation and just put your head down and work.
Did you stay locked in then after, as soon as the match is over? It sounds like you immediately changed gears to, we need him to win. It sounds like there wasn't much pity for yourself, like thinking about the match. It sounds like you kind of stayed dialed in to his result.
Yeah. I mean, I think it's kind of, there's always that self-pity, there's always that coulda, shoulda, woulda, gosh dang, you're an idiot, kind of bad negative talk, and I think I gave myself the 2 to, because I like to say, give yourself 5 minutes to sweat the small things, to just, pardon my language, bitch and moan about whatever, give yourself 5 minutes, and then you're done. There's no more negative talk. And I think I gave myself 2 or 3 because we didn't have 5 minutes to do that, so you just give yourself time to kind of pace back and forth and MF yourself and how stupid you are and just be super negative and whatever. But then, when that negative talk is done, when your 2 minutes is up, you're done. You just change focus and continue to be positive and get humble and cheer for the guy that just beats you, because that's a humiliating thing to do, to cheer for the guy that just ripped your heart out.
Yeah.
But there's so many emotions that happen within, 5 minutes. It's kind of insane. We've all been there in certain situations. People go through crazy things in life. It's not just in the sport of wrestling that crazy things happen. So we all have been through that emotional roller coaster of being on a super high to a super low to being just not sure where I should go to, all right, well, I have zero emotion. I'm just going to go back to work and put my head down. So it's just, it's fun. I was thinking about it, the other day. Actually, it was after weigh-ins. The first day I was sitting there, I think it was me, David, the masseuse, Cyrus, and Helen were sitting in the little room there. We had a little cubicle, and I just kind of started laughing, and I was like, well, isn't it weird, like what we do, like what we do for a living, what we choose to do to have fun, and they're like, what do you mean? I was like, well, just think about it. We just sat here and we, half starve ourselves and work ourselves, like horses to get down to weight. And then now we're sitting here, drinking our little smoothies and whatever, so focused, and everyone, you can just feel that you cut the intensity with a knife. And now we're going to go out and bash heads with another human being. And just so people at home can scream and yell and enjoy it and come back and do it all over again. And they just started laughing. It's just kind of funny, but some people have 9 to 5 and they just have and there's nothing wrong with it. It's just completely different. Just the intensity and the emotion that goes into what we do. And it's just kind of, sometimes you have to sit back and realize how unique it is and how you just got to appreciate it.
Guys, real quick, attention listeners across the galaxy, all the way from Australia to Houston, our friends at Manscaped have cleared you for takeoff with their 4th generation and brand new Lawnmower 4.0. You can see it right here. Guys, join the 2 million men worldwide who trust Manscaped and get your rocket ready for takeoff by going to manscaped.com for 20% off plus free shipping with promo code Chenzo. Guys, are you ready for an all-out experience? Look no further than the Performance Package 4.0 from Manscaped. that has just taken off in not only the USA, but Canada, the UK, across Europe, Australia, South Africa, and Singapore. We've got a lot of international listeners in this podcast, and I'm happy to tell you if you're in those places, you can now order at manscaped.com. Get 20% off promo code Chenzo. Get free shipping. Guys, this Lawnmower 4.0, this Weed Whacker, they're bathroom necessities. I would not take on a sponsor for this show for just anything. These are in our bathrooms in this house for a reason. They're fantastic. They're waterproof. They don't break. It's got all the things it should have. Waterproof, LED, spotlight. These things are great. More importantly, they're built well. They last. Everybody needs a trimmer. I say it all the time in this podcast, guys. They've been sponsoring us for a couple months now, and I stand by these products. They're great. All of you guys who are ordering them have told me that you love them too. So if you haven't got one yet, I don't know what you're waiting for. Support the podcast. Support Manscaped. Go get a trimmer. Go get the Lawnmower 4.0. Get a Weed Whacker. All you got to do is go to manscaped.com and get 20% off promo code Chenzo, CENZO. They also have boxers, crop preserver, crop reviver, all the little accessories you need. So, guys, look good, feel good, wrestle good. Go take care of yourself. Go groom yourselves. Go to manscaped.com. Use promo code Chenzo. Now back to Gilman. Yeah, and it really did seem like, I remember they panned to you during Uguev's match with, I remember you and Yanni were sitting there. And I remember looking at you like, man, he seems like he's kind of at peace. And a lot of people I heard say that, whether it was talking to fellers or people on Twitter, like everybody kind of said the same thing. Like you looked like you were at peace. You looked like you were, what I'll say is like present. And you came out and dominated the next two guys, 11-1, 9-1. Did you feel different, or was that just a continual from the first match, just a little bit of a different outcome?
I think it was just a continuation. I think that those guys just weren't as good as the other guy. I was definitely at peace. I just wanted to go out there and have fun. And even my first match, I just want to have fun and kind of showcase some of the skills that I've been working on and just bring glory to God. And it's pretty peaceful, when you get out there and you just kind of stomp your feet and run out there and the lights are shining bright. It's just, it's a different experience when you're wrestling free and present like that than it is like when you're wrestling tight and like protecting something that's not even yours. So I just kind of just try and enjoy the process because, sometimes, who knows, maybe you only get one chance at the Olympic Games. I'm not going to, obviously the goal, is to go through 2024. And I really believe if I continue the things that I'm doing now that, there's nobody that's going to even come close to me. No one's going to stop me. No one's even going to want to step on the mat with me. So, but I'm not, maybe God intervenes and changes my direction. Maybe I get hurt or whatever. That's the only way, but maybe you only get one chance. So you might as well enjoy it and just be present and be able to write back home about everything in color, in great detail. But I was, even when I lost, I was at peace just because I made some mistakes. I made one really big mistake there at the end, but I wrestled as good as I could. I didn't leave anything out there. I was getting my shots, I was getting takedowns. I was wrestling hard. There wasn't anything that I could really be upset about other than I lost. And is that something really to be upset about? I don't, of course. Right. But I don't know, I believe that there's no real losing because you only really lose when you compromise your integrity and your principles. And I didn't do that at all. I showed my character and my principles coming back and get bronze, but I never once really felt too sorry for myself because I was happy with the right way I wrestled, even though the outcome wasn't what I would like.
I don't know how accurate it is, but I saw a post somewhere about how bronze medal winners are happier than silver medal winners. I don't know if it's an actual study or if it's just some thing you see posted, but it did get me thinking, you were so excited after that bronze, you could tell, you show emotion, but this was another level of emotion. I don't know if it was a mix of gratitude and happiness, but you could just tell. I just posted on Twitter a picture of you on Cody's shoulders, pointing, just so happy. Did this feel like the biggest win of your career?
I think it was no doubt the biggest win of my career, and it felt like that. But it was the emotion. I don't think stemmed from getting bronze. I think it stemmed from just an accumulation of all the emotions in this past year and a half. I
Sure.
mean, if you think about me and my wife's journey this last year and a half, we loaded up a 26-foot U-Haul, left Iowa City, drove it to Pennsylvania. We lived at my in-laws for 2 months. We found a house in Bellefonte, Pennsylvania, moved up here, started wrestling for the Nittany Lion Wrestling Club. We had no idea what we're doing. We just said, hey, this might be a good opportunity. This seems like a good idea. Let's give it a shot. We could have fell flat on our face. I mean, it could have not worked out. And there was a distinct possibility, but we had the faith just to leap and see what happened, because I believed if we would have fell flat on our face, that would have been better than not doing anything at all.
100%.
Because I just needed we both needed something to change.
Yep.
But we got here, and the club and the community just opened us with open arms, and made us family from day one. It wasn't even a question. And they supported us through everything. Incorporating my wife into the community. Like, I think that was probably the most important thing to me. But and then, having the foot injury, I saw 3 doctors and they all told me I needed surgery. And I saw, a guy in California that worked on my emotions and my spiritual being. And I thought he was a nut, but he ended up doing it, and, just to win that last match and get bronze, not for me, but for everybody else that helped me get there. I think it was important. The Penn State took a leap of faith with me. I could have came out here and been a flop too, and they would have wasted their time. But I didn't want to waste their time. It's a two-way street there. So I think it wasn't necessarily the emotion of winning or losing. It was just the emotion of the journey, and it's not over, but we made it to a checkpoint. It's like, holy crap, we made it somewhere. We're still on our way somewhere else, but we made it to this checkpoint. It's like, wow, let's just take a second to be completely grateful for this whole opportunity. And going back to the statistic, I don't know. I think that it's silver's better than bronze, right? Everyone knows that, but winning, I was talking about it with Coach Mike, the strength coach, last night. Winning your last match, there's something to that. Losing your last match, that's hard. You leave the Olympic Games on a loss. There's something very emotional about that and hard about that. But like when you leave the Olympic Games with a win, I think that's definitely more positive, as far as your emotions go. But it is funny because it's a strange dichotomy, because silver's better than bronze, but you're happier with bronze than silver just because you lost or you won your last match, or lost your last match. But it's interesting.
Yeah, I saw it was either last night or this morning, and I started thinking about it. But what would you say was the best part of this whole trip?
Best part, probably the people, the Japanese people.
I saw the one video Cal posted of like them welcoming you guys. I'm like, man, I wish I was on that bus right now. That looked so awesome.
It was amazing. And, some people are going to get bent out of shape with me saying this, but it's just the truth. But if you just watch the media in the United States, you would think 2 things. One, that the Japanese people and the Japanese government, I'll say the people, because I don't know, I didn't meet anybody in the government, but the Japanese people don't want the Olympic Games. They're scared of COVID. They don't want the games, and they might be scared of COVID. But when we got there, they did not want the games. They wanted the games. They thanked us. Everybody we met, everybody we ran into, thanked us so much for risking our health to come there to support them, essentially, to wrestle in the games, to compete in the games. And they're so freaking hospitable and so welcoming. And the second thing you learn watching our media is that America is a terrible place and nobody likes America, and we go to Japan and these people are waving American flags, chanting "Go USA" and wearing red, white, and blue and saying they hope we win the Olympics, and they love America. It's just like, wow, like it's such a humbling experience, and just the way that they welcomed us. I wonder, like, if when the games are in LA, are we as Americans going to be that welcoming to all these other countries? Yeah. It's like, just the people were great, and they're so hospitable and so eager to serve, and they're very orderly and very very on top of things for sure. But just getting to know their culture a little bit more and being around their people, it was a great experience.
What would you say was the hardest part about the whole trip?
The hardest part, it wasn't really too much that was hard. I think the hardest thing was the plane rides. Just like 12 hours in a plane both ways, and then we're halfway around the world. It's 13-hour time difference from the East Coast, so just acclimating. It took, there's a couple rough days there, trying to acclimate. So I think that was the hardest thing. But that being said, just shout out to the Olympic Committee and USA Wrestling and the nutritionists and Cody Bickley, the logistics guy, just getting everything set up, years ahead of time and everything being super smooth. And we got there and the food was great. Rob Skinner, the nutritionist, worked with the kitchen staff in the Kanagawa to kind of make sure things were going to be familiar, because it's a completely different culture. They don't know what we need or what we like as far as like what we need for competition. If we weren't there for competition, it'd be different. You just suck it up and eat whatever. Right. But sometimes you need to have the staples, and they did a good job of getting that stuff set up. So that was the hardest part, was acclimating, but that's not a complaint, because that was like, the trip was like so smooth. So easy.
Yeah. And that's why I didn't want to ask you the worst part of the trip, because I think it's such an experience. It's not like you're just, like my wife really wants to travel, and there's certain places that I know, like a couple of friends have gone to India and they got super sick. Like I wouldn't look forward to going there for that reason alone, though I'd love to go to India. And with Japan, this isn't just like your wife said, hey, let's go vacation in Japan, honey. This was like a business trip. And it's an experience that so many people, you talk about the percentage of, if you just look at wrestling alone, the percentage of wrestlers in high school that don't go to college, and then those ones that don't wrestle internationally, and then those ones that don't get to go to the Olympics, like it's such an amazing experience that, I see some questions like the worst part, or that's specifically why I said hardest, because I know how grateful you are. Now you're home and all eyes are on what you're going to do next. Do you have an idea? I know World Championships are in 2 months. If you want the spot, you have the spot. Do you know where you're at with that?
Yeah, I do know. Well, I'm leaning in one direction more than the other, but I'm taking my time, because something that I talked to Coach Cody about and talked to my wife about it too is you come off the Olympic Games and there's a lot of emotions going on.
Yep.
And your first emotion is, all right, well, World Championships are 8 weeks away. Let's stay on the horse and keep them ready, and let's just run right into Oslo. And that's what kind of everyone else is doing. David, Kyle. It's all right. It's 2.0. Let's go. Let's do it. The crew's together. Let's keep it together. Let's roll. But I felt like if I made a decision right there, it would be more of an emotional decision than a logical decision. So I want to get home and see what things were like on the home front, kind of get the lay of the land, to get some things taken care of around my house and spend some time with my lovely wife and just kind of make sure everything's good. Right.
Yeah.
Because there are a lot of more things that go into this career right now than just wrestling and competing. One being my wife, and I have a child on the way. So I need to make sure everything's like,
I get it.
super solid there before you make a rash decision and move forward. But I'm definitely leaning more towards, obviously competing, but on the 15th, I'll make that final decision. And yeah.
And I believe the case is that, because I saw some people tweeting about this, I believe that if you accept the spot, it has to be at 57, right? It's not like you can accept and go to 61.
Right. Yeah. So
Okay,
I'll be at 57. Yeah. Yeah.
Obviously, I want you to go. I mean, like you said, the momentum, it's so amazing for USA Wrestling as a whole. Like watching, I have buddies texting me all week long, like, knowing either from the podcast or who we work with at BASCH Solutions, like they know you're one of my guys and they see like, oh my gosh, people who don't even watch wrestling, like it's such a good time for the sport and the momentum. And I obviously can relate so much to the, let me get home, because that's what I do. My decisions aren't like going across the country for a couple of weeks for a work trip to win a world championship, but that sense of like, I appreciate the priority of like, let me assess the home front. Let me see what my pregnant wife needs. Let me see what's going on at the house. Let me see this and that. And then you have to live 15. So as much as I or anybody else wants you to be like, wave the American flag, we're headed there. I do appreciate that.
Yeah. It's just, we're not single soldiers anymore. There's a lot going on. So, and it's funny, me and my wife were just talking about this the other day. Everyone's like asking about the world championships, even like before the Olympics. I would get super irritated. I was like, we got to go win the Olympic Games first. So I got my whole entire focus was on the Olympic Games. And right when they ended, there's all this talk about the worlds. And I was so focused on the Olympics that I totally forgot. It's completely out of my mind. So now it's like, all right, let me just reevaluate this, because I totally forgot there's going to be world championships. So it's like, that's how simple my brain is. Like, I'm not the smartest dude in the world, so it's like one little thing at a time. And so there's a world championship, so we'll figure it out. But I'm leaning towards doing it.
Yeah, and I don't know that that's how simple you are. I think that's how I look at uber successful people, and oftentimes they're not the best multitaskers because they're so focused on one thing ahead of them. And there's times you think like, wait, what about this? I'm not even thinking about that. Really? Yeah. I would have thought you're thinking 10 different things at once, but
no, all my energy is in one place, all the eggs in one basket at one time. So some people don't like that, but that's just how I am. I got to put all my energy in one direction, and it's
God made you the way you are. Everybody is different. Everybody, you mentioned like with what you're doing with competing, and God has made everybody so different, and everybody, we live in a culture where it's almost demonized how God made you, and it's like, I'm hardwired differently than you, and you're hardwired differently than your wife, who's hardwired different. Like everybody to just focus on what they're good at and double down. I think the results come. So I wouldn't change if I were you. Continue to train and get as better as you can athletically. But man, I'd say you're pretty dialed in right now.
Yeah. I don't think there's no change in here.
Good. I love it. Well, that's pretty much all I have for you. I am grateful you came on the show. Congratulations again on, first and foremost, a healthy baby girl on the way. Congratulations on the bronze medal. And just, if nothing else, remember me wanting you to go to Norway. So over the next 48 hours.
Yeah. And putting that plug.
And listen, seriously, I know I've texted you all week about it, but you got to add some more blogs to the website. They're so good, man.
I know. I just tell my wife after you text me, I need to get a blog in this week. So maybe I'll sit down with a beverage and knock one out.
Do it as simple as you can. What I do is just do it and open your notes app on your iPhone and just type it up. That's what I do sometimes when I want to get something out. Yeah. Is I just open up my iPhone, keep it real simple.
Yeah. That's what we did with the last one. So that I think that works good. I get the thoughts out.
All right. Thomas Gilman, Olympic bronze medalist. Thank you for coming on, man.
Thank you, sir. Appreciate it.
That has to be Thomas's 5th or 6th time on this podcast. And I swear I love every conversation more than the last one. So grateful for Thomas coming on the podcast today. Guys, thank you so much for listening. I hope Chenzo's back for the next one. He was supposed to be out. He's scheduled this one. There's just, like I said, to start off the show, something popped up and he had to take care of it. And his new job is more important than this podcast. So he's got to do what he's got to do. Hopefully he's back soon. Real quick, guys, before we do wrap this podcast up, an important way to optimize your athletic performance and fitness is to eat and fuel foods that help regulate blood sugar. It's key for your metabolism to work effectively. Most sports energy products are filled with sugar or fast carbs to give you a quick flash of energy that's short-lived. Recently, I got introduced to the guys at UCAN. They've been moving fast for the wrestling community. They started sponsoring this podcast because I've told the story. Anthony Cassar started using the products. I asked about them. I started talking to them. I got a lot of the products. And then I said, we need to do more together. So they were willing to sponsor the show. I was willing to tell you guys how awesome this stuff is. So UCAN's patented ingredient, Superstarch, has a remarkable ability to provide a steady release of energy without spiking blood sugar levels. For athletes, controlling blood sugar is key to optimizing focus, performance, and recovery. Guys, I love these products. I love them. Chenzo loves them. Go ask Anthony Cassar how much he loves them. They're great products and they work. I stand behind them. They like this one that I love, cookies and cream, energy and protein. So I have a couple scoops of the UCAN Energy to start the day before I go work out. And then when I make a protein shake, I use this stuff. It's great. I have sustained energy. I'm a morning person. My energy levels peak normally at 6, 7 a.m. and it's a slow fade throughout the day. I do all my heavy mental stuff in the morning. Right now, it's 4 p.m. Hopefully this podcast is out soon. It's 4 p.m. and I feel like it's 6 a.m. with how much energy I have. This stuff works. Part of the reason, I'll be honest, part of the reason I tried this was I just wanted something different because I've been on amino energy for so long. And when I tried this stuff, it was a no-brainer to start using it. So if you're in the market, go to ucan.co, promo code Chenzo, save 20% off, get free shipping. Try this stuff. It's good. And let me know what you think. And guys, I'm not kidding. Anthony Cassar will talk about these products all day long. He's a very firm believer. Go tweet him, go Instagram him. Maybe we'll bring him on and talk about them soon. I actually do want him back on the show. And that is it for today's show, guys. Thank you so much for tuning in. Be sure to subscribe to the podcast on Apple, Spotify. This podcast is available in video format on YouTube and ROKFIN. So thank you for checking it out. Thank you so much for tuning in. We'll be back for another episode shortly. See ya.
And the beat goes on.